Hello and welcome to another episode of Scott Reads Comics. Today we've got a cool G.I. Joe issue, G.I. Joe Yearbook number 3, the spiritual sequel to G.I. Joe number 21, Silent Mission. This one was published in 1987 by Marvel Comics. If you like Mike Zeck, stay tuned because we've got a lot of Mike Zeck in here once we get through our initial story in this double-size extravaganza. Here we have an incredible Mike Zeck cover and a Mike Zeck back cover featuring some of the principal characters in these stories in here. The yearbooks were kind of like annuals for G.I. Joe, and one of the things that this thing does is also does a cool job of recapping what transpired in the previous year's worth of G.I. Joe stories, because they had a pretty extensive continuity. Let's dive in. We have a nice front piece here, G.I. Joe Yearbook contents, G.I. Joe Hush Job, the Joes on television, a gallery of covers. We're going to get some great Mike Zeck in there. The adventure continues, so that goes over the continuity of the previous year. A great story, My Dinner with Serpentor, which features Mike Zeck pencils, and a little pinup gallery. There's pinups dotted all through this amazing collection. So our initial story is Hush Job. Larry Hama is the storyteller. Pencils by Ron Wagner, inks Kim DeMolder, colors Max Shield, editor Bob Harris, editor-in-chief Jim Shooter. So again, we have a completely silent issue, no dialogue, no exposition text boxes, no thought bubbles. And we have a great splash page here with a Cobra base in the middle of the city. We have some of that great hardware that G.I. Joe was known for. Of course, they were selling toys here, but they did a nice job of melding it with some pretty awesome storytelling. We see this Cobra helicopter landing. We see the Baroness and Dr. Mindbender, who will feature prominently in the story. And Snake Eyes is being taken in. He is a captive. He has been taken captive. And so we're going to have a flip of the script here, as we see on the next page. Snake Eyes is our captive, and coming to rescue him is Scarlet. And in Silent Mission, it was reversed. Scarlet was the captive, and Snake Eyes was rescuing her. So here we see this brilliant bit of storytelling by Hama, Wagner, and DeMolder as they are able to just communicate all of this action with, again, no dialogue, no exposition. A little bit of cheats here with the words, freeze frame, enhanced image, max magnification. So Scarlet knows Snake Eyes is at the base. She's going to be dropped in there, an insertion of some kind. But prior to that, the plane takes a detour, and she stops to get some help. And we see a pastoral wilderness scene here, and it is Storm Shadow. Snake Eyes, one-time enemy, now turned friend again as they trained together in a bygone era. Great shot of Scarlet landing here and letting Storm Shadow, who is kind of on retreat, know what the gravity of the situation is. And this is totally awesome. So much communicated with the intensity of these eyes. Wagner and DeMolder do a great job. I don't know if Hama did full layouts for this story. He is not credited with such, but he was known to do that. I should also point out here, Storm Shadow's not alone. Snake Eyes wolf Timber is with him. So another great Joe's character, Timber the wolf. Meanwhile, back at the Cobra base, we have Dr. Mindbender at work on Snake Eyes trying to plumb his memories for clues, intelligence, whatever he can get. So it is a memory scan, really cool. We see some old panels from issue 26, which was the origin of Snake Eyes, which also further cemented the relationship between Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow during their time in Nam. Remember, this is published in the 80s, and the G.I. Joes are veterans, many of them of the Vietnam War, the later Vietnam War, that would have ended by 1975, for the United States at least. So here we have Snake Eyes, again, memories being pulled from his mind, Baroness enjoying the spectacle there, and leaving Dr. Mindbender to his work. Meanwhile, in a subway system, potentially New York subway system, so maybe this Cobra base is in New York, we see this individual, this blind man making his way through the subway car. He's going to be preyed upon by these marauding youths. However, the prey becomes the predator here, as it is in fact Snake Eyes, and he spares them by merely giving them some rather unfortunate haircuts and letting them go with that, and he exits the car. And we can see that he is in fact at a secret entrance to this secret Cobra base. Meanwhile, we have a nondescript cleaning lady with some other cleaning ladies moving into Cobra's base because, hey, Cobra needs to keep their bases clean too. So they have a cleaning staff for that, and one of them is rather familiar with those piercing eyes. We shall see who she is. Meanwhile, here's where things start to get bloody. Storm Shadow making his way through the sewers, a great communication. There's two sets of bubbles, two figures coming toward him in this excellent 4-panel page here. And he strikes with savage ferocity with both katanas, slaying these two Cobra scuba men. Very cool. I think they were called the Eels. I believe I had those action figures, the Cobra Eels. And meanwhile, back in the base, Mindbender's work continues. We continue to see more scenes of the reunion between Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, where they bury the hatchet. Memory scan, random sample subject actively suppressing memory visualization. So Snake Eyes is fighting the process. Great scene here of Dr. Mindbender in this panel contemplating how best to move forward despite Snake Eyes' resistance to the process. Meanwhile, awesome panel here showing how Scarlet is in fact discovered with high-tech Cobra security scans, but her vacuum is not empty. In fact, Timber is here as well. So great reveal here as her wig is being removed, and Timber leaps out to allow her to escape, hopefully. Another great scene here on this 3-panel page of Storm Shadow entering the building, presumably from the sewers into a sub-basement, but really fantastic scene, almost Miller-esque here. We can see hanging bat-like from the ceiling these ninjas who Cobra employs, these red-clad ninjas. And I love the juxtaposition of the colors here of Storm Shadow's classic white outfit and the red of these ninjas. I don't know if they ever did action figures for these guys, but it would have been great if they did. So they've probably done them now because all these companies make these incredible retro action figures. But as a kid, I love these guys. And they're very similar to the Hand Ninjas. And this scene is incredibly similar to many of the awesome fight sequences we would see in Daredevil when he fought the Hand on numerous occasions. Just really, this, I think, Ron Wagner distinguished himself for me on this particular issue. And moving forward, I thought of him differently. And he wasn't just some ham and egg or penciler handling a licensed book, but more, he was really an incredibly skilled artist and storyteller. And Kim DeMulder's inks certainly help out here. Great fight sequences. Storm Shadow vaulting back onto this fuel tank, cutting the pipe, and then using his throwing stars to spark a unlikely fire to seemingly burn these 4 ninja to death as he exits. So while the cartoon was incredibly disappointing when it dealt with actual violence, the comic book pulled no punches, and they did what they could up to the code, and there were plenty of lives taken, and there were high stakes in these stories, and this issue is no different, even though it is a special yearbook issue. And here we have I think this is the Hard Master pictured, one of Snake Eyes' 2 mentors, the Hard Master and the Soft Master. And then again, we get a little information from the screen messages here. Subject is in Zen trance, complete brain block effect, alpha wave overload, alpha wave overload. And here we see Snake Eyes breaking out of his manacles while Mindbender is trying to puzzle through how this is happening. The screen actually explodes, knocking him out. But then Snake Eyes, groggy from his experience, is gang tackled, and he's being savagely beaten by these Cobra soldiers here. But help is on the way in the form of Storm Shadow, and he bursts through the door and hurls one of his katanas to his brother-in-arms, Snake Eyes, and uses the other to deal with the first 2 guards. And then the 2 of them make short work of the remaining guards in the room and then make their escape. We have an incredible page here following up page 19 with these 3 vertical panels, 2 of the same size, and then the one in the middle twice the width of the ones that bound it. And it's really cool as more Cobra Ninjas show up in their red regalia. And Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow find themselves surrounded on this narrow bridge over what looks like a cauldron of fire in this Cobra base. It's classic G.I. Joe here in every respect. Really great. Wagner is excelling at showing this martial arts action. And our 2 protagonists plant their katanas firmly in the surface of the bridge and vault over the Cobra Ninjas. And then plant some explosives, and Snake Eyes turns the detonator, and boom, what an incredible panel here. And they must have really had to resist the urge to put a sound effect there, but I'm glad they didn't, because it preserves, again, the whole theme of this particular story. Mindbender, lucky cuss that he is, escapes, gets to a bolt hole. We'll see him again, I'm sure. Meanwhile, here we see, perhaps first and only time, except for his experience in Vietnam, Storm Shadow actually carrying a firearm. And of course, Snake Eyes has one as well. Looks like they have AK-47s, the classic gun of the Cobra soldier. But they are way outgunned here. And Baroness has 2 pistols on them as well. So they have no choice but to give up their arms. As she got the drop on them, she leads them back into the base. Meanwhile, Mindbender emerges through the fire stair entrance, running only to find Baroness and some guards tied up. So who is this? It's Scarlet. And she removes her wig, revealing herself, and the 3 friends, plus Timber, who somehow managed to rejoin them, escape the Cobra base with some firefighters there cleaning up in the aftermath. Not sure how Cobra's base was accepted in the city. Maybe they presented themselves as some kind of charitable organization. I forget the story kludge that was used for that. But fantastic story, great spiritual successor to Silent Mission. Not really as good, I would say, in terms of the artwork is great, but I liked the Steve Lealoha, Larry Hama artwork a little better in Silent Mission, but this is fantastic. And then we have a short feature on the Joes on television. These stills look a lot worse, actually, than they actually do animated. And here we have the first of our incredible Mike Zeck pinups, Lady J. I mean, if you're a Mike Zeck fan, this is worth grabbing. Again, I got this in a dollar bin. I might have even gotten it at a 50-cent sale at New Dimension, I don't remember. But it was well worth it. Look at this incredible Dr. Mindbender from Mike Zeck. Mike Zeck is a master cover artist, master pinup artist. Sequential. He's a great sequential artist, too. He spent a lot of time doing Master of Kung Fu. Of course, he did Secret Wars. That was a rush job. It was obvious. But what a fantastic artist. And look at our cover gallery for the year, covering issues, I think, 45 to 54 or 55. Maybe 45 to 56, I think, is what it covers. So look at these, just assortment of incredible covers. I remember this cover to 47. I bought this. I remember the commercials. They were so incredible. They featured this cover actually in the commercial, and then it became animation for a few seconds. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. It was awesome, and I got the Devilfish because it was so great. Yes, this is part of the creation of Serpentor here. Just totally awesome. That's a John Byrne cover there, and that may also be a Byrne cover. I'm not sure, but these are both Zeck here. Unsure about this one. This could be Ron Wagner. That's definitely a Zeck. Loved this issue. And again, I'm not sure who the cover artist is here, but that is Zeck as well. Oh, another brilliant Mike Zeck pinup with Serpentor. And here we have a lengthy recap of the continuity from the previous year. Really great. There's some very cool moments in here. Here is the Baroness actually shooting Storm Shadow dead. Remember, the events depicted here occur a year before this actual issue, so the story Hush Job is a year after Storm Shadow seemingly shot dead. And here we have the great Sergeant Slaughter joining the Joes. Pretty awesome use of marketing, basically. And I remember the Sergeant Slaughter action figure. And here, great, Dr. Mindbender uses the body of Storm Shadow to basically goose up the recipe when they make Serpentor, who's going to be their ultimate leader. He's basically vat grown from the DNA of various great leaders like Genghis Khan and Julius Caesar, and of course they throw a little Storm Shadow Ninja in there as well, among the other things for the recipe. So always a visually stunning character. I love the action figure. I thought he was great. I go forth to press the foe. Who follows me? The Joes invade Springfield. The Cobra forces are rallied by Serpentor, who has the Joe assault team on the run down Main Street. He's lost no opportunity to seize power. So yeah, unlike Cobra Commander, who is a bit cowardly, Serpentor leads from the front. And here, the process that brought Serpentor to life somehow brings Storm Shadow back, which is really cool. We have the Dreadnoks, the introduction of Zorana's, Zartan's sister. So pretty cool punk, sort of a punk rock look on the Dreadnoks and Zorana. Oh, and I remember this ridiculous vehicle. This toy that this was based off of is just insane. Again, they were selling toys in this comic, but they did it well. They did it as well as could be done. I would say even as well, maybe better than Micronauts in many ways. Here, instead of what you thought was going to be a confrontation between Serpentor and Cobra Commander, they embrace, because Serpentor has a larger agenda. And here is Storm Shadow revivified, makes peace with Snake Eyes. And later on in the story in Hush Job, he's trying to find himself in the wilderness, and that's when Scarlet goes to him to help her rescue Snake Eyes. So, very cool. Some good stuff here. Nice recap of what happened. Oh, there's Tomax and Zamoth, the evil twins. All these great memories around this title. I mean, I was really grooving on the superheroes in Marvel in the 80s, but G.I. Joe and Conan were like my two breaks from the superhero comics, and they kind of were a nice, almost like a palate cleanser. When you'd read, a small stack of superhero comics, then this would come out and you could read that and have it just a completely different genre. And it was great. What a run, too. Larry Hama's just storied run. And I think he's doing G.I. Joe again for, I think maybe still IDW has it. Great ad here with the Michael Golden artwork. So cool. Lady J, Snake Eyes, Timber. I'm not sure who that is. And, of course, Transformers. I think that's Don Perlin artwork. Here we have My Dinner with Serpentor, which is totally awesome. Larry Hama script, Mike Zeck and Dennis Janke art, Janet Jackson colors, Ken Lopez letters. The Dreadnoks are going to serve Serpentor, the new Cobra, Bigwig, a dinner of chocolate donuts, grape soda, and little frozen pizzas. And Dr. Mindbender, who's a snob on many things, including all things culinary, is outraged. But Serpentor stops him and tells a great story. I remember a little incident at the Roman siege of Alesia during the Gallic campaigns. It was the year 52 BC by our present reckoning. So he tells this incredible story of how, in fact, pizza was invented, and it may or may not have helped them defeat their barbarian foes. Wait a minute. Are you telling me that the invention of the pizza led to the downfall of the Vercingetorix and the domination of what is now France and Belgium? No, of course not. It was just a random memory. Totally awesome here. And we are left with a couple of banger pinups here. There's Xandar and Zorana, two siblings of Zartan. The Dreadnoks, again, these are Mike Zeck. Totally awesome. And finally, Hawk, which is so great. And then we get this final memo. From Hawk to all units, subject G.I. Joe. It's been quite an eventful year, a year of drastic change for both the Joes and Cobras. The pit is gone forever, and the Joes are on the move, traveling light and hitting hard. That's good. Lollygagging around in Garrison just makes a soldier soft. We can't afford to be soft. Cobra has to contend with the new leadership, even though their old leader isn't quite down for the count yet. There is nothing like dissension in the ranks of a foe to warm my heart. We said goodbye to some old friends and welcome some new faces to the team. The names and the faces change, but the team goes on. Enough of this. Let's move out smartly and commence soldiering. Hawk. So yeah, totally awesome. A great story to share, Hush Job, and then all the other material that went into this yearbook is really great. Seek it out if you can in a dollar bin in your hometown store, or pick it up elsewhere, but well worth having, well worth reading. I'm glad you watched and shared it with me. I really appreciate that. If you liked what you saw, please like and subscribe, tell your friends, and I'll bring you more soon on Scott Reads Comics. Thanks for watching.